Okay. My fault. My bad. Hopefully people will come to the new one now. So this is part 2 from the previous one because I accidentally hit the back button. And here we are. I did take screenshots because I'm smart. So I still have the old chat. I can continue answering from where I was. Let's open number 1. I'll try to wait until some people get in here. Number 2. Number 3. Okay. 1. Okay. Waiting for people to come back over into this one. We're here. Yay. Well, according to me, there's only one person here. 2 people here. Yeah, it was totally my fault. I reached over to my mouse. I totally forgot that it has forward and back buttons on the side, and I accidentally clicked the back button. And I am not technically savvy enough to know how to get back into it because it doesn't just let me in. So I guess I should probably figure that out. All right, people are coming back in. Yay. Give another minute or so here. I did save. Where are you? Wait. We're here. Where are you? I don't know what you mean. No worries. Okay, good. Yeah. Okay. Yeah, I took screenshots of the chat. So I do still have all of those questions. You guys don't have to rewrite your stuff. What I was looking for was afterglow, but my description sucked and the term probably encompasses more. Oh, okay. Yeah. That makes sense. What accent do you speak? American English. So I'm going to go back, since I took screenshots, I'm going to go back and go through all that. So don't repost your questions because I'm just going to pick up where I left off. But I'll answer this really quick. I speak American English, specifically Western American English. American English has multiple neutral accents, which I know doesn't seem to make any sense at first. Type in, actually, I can send you a link here. I have to be very careful I don't accidentally hit the back button, apparently. I made a whole lesson talking about this. Content neutral. Hit share the link. Okay. So if you watch that, it will explain why American English does not just have one neutral accent, and yeah, the way that I teach you guys makes it, at least in my mind, as easy and simple as possible to learn pronunciation, sound American, sound natural, without a lot of the things that other people teach you. American English with some additional influence from his grammar. Yeah, there you go. Okay, so going back, we had, I didn't quite, yeah, okay. So Finn, so right after David asked the plain trail question, we have Finn. Can you drop a T after an S sound if the next word starts with a vowel? Drop a T if the next word starts with a vowel. Okay, if so, how fast do you have to be going for that not to sound triggering? Is it triggering? Triggering and disturbing. Yeah, so if you have ST, which I actually just talked about this in the consonant cluster lesson that I'm going to be editing here. The ST combination, okay, is it T after an S? Yeah. So S and then T. If there's nothing after it, so like at the end of a word, and say that it's, there's no other words, or there's nothing really for the T to connect to, or whatever, like a vowel. So there's nothing to connect to after it. The T will commonly disappear. Like if I say last, I'm going to say last, right? I can even say last week. Say the T doesn't have to connect to the W. I can just connect the S to the W. It's fine. If we have like start, right, that's where we get that T that kind of sounds like a weak D, but it's still technically a T. If I say last is, it's going to be just like start. Okay. So it depends. It's contextual. Now, is it possible to still drop that T if there's a vowel after it? So if I say last is, but say I'm speaking really quick. So the I don't know, the last is ready. I don't know. Okay, so the last is ready. The last is ready. Yeah, you can do that. If I slow it down, the last is ready. No problem. Yeah, you can still drop it. I think the ST at the end, if you pronounce the T, it's gonna sound like, for example, like in start. But I don't think it's ever required to pronounce it. If there's a vowel for it to link to, it is still common for us to go ahead and pronounce it in that, that semi-weak D sounding way. But you can still drop it. I've noticed that in fastish speech, see fastish, is that T sound again? Fastish speech. It's kind of hard to say. There's something interesting that happens with the word problem, such as in the sentence, do you have a problem with that? I'm not quite sure what it is, but it kind of seems like the L isn't pronounced and the B and the M kind of merge into one nasal sound. Am I right in my assessment? So yeah, John, I took screenshots. I'm going through the screenshots. I still have all your questions. Don't worry. Yes, thank you, Finn. Okay, so for this question, so the L isn't pronounced. Problem. Okay, yeah, I see what you're talking about. So again, fully enunciated, no problem. That'd be fully enunciated. But yes, you can reduce the word problem to problem. We have a problem. Okay. That's especially in faster speech. That's perfectly fine. Normal speech, that happens also. But when you slow it down, you start enunciating more. We want to get that B and L coming out. Okay, imposter. Fast he goes and fast it goes. I know sometimes T can flap if the next sound is a W or Y. Does that sound regional to you? Pronouncing what U with the flap T instead of a stop or a CH. All right, well, I don't know what the imposter fast he goes. Oh, maybe that's more examples. Oh yeah, okay, that was based on your previous question. Yeah. So yeah, you could say okay, inside the word, if you can't do that. You can't say imposter. Maybe in really fast speech, but if it's inside of a word, it's imposter. But you say like fasty goes, fasty, or you say fasty goes. That's his, or even like as fast as he goes, that's as fast as he goes, as fast as, no problem. Fast it goes, no problem. Okay, I know sometimes T can flap if the next sound is W or Y. So like what you, okay, what do you? No, because if you do that, it sounds like what do you? It wouldn't be what you. So if I say that is what you think, if I say that's what do you think, that's what do you think, even if I'm trying not to add a vowel after that flap, it just goes straight from the flap to the Y, it's gonna sound like what do you, and now it sounds like broken grammar. But if I say what do you think, what do you think? Yeah, so no, it's that's not gonna happen. No. Maybe it's a regional thing, but it is definitely not standard. No. And with a W after it, I would also say probably no. Like what we wanted, what we wanted. That's what we wanted. What we wanted. It's what we wanted. That's what we wanted. To me, it takes extra effort to try to do a flap there. It doesn't sound too bad if there's a W after it, but it doesn't quite sound standard to me, and it requires extra effort. So I don't know why people would do that anyway. But with the Y, definitely not. How you doing? Good. So this is Mr. Machiavelli. The other day I heard a Brit pronounce the word lust. To me, it sounded like the American pronunciation of lost. Yeah, so definitely not. I can't speak 100% for British English because I don't speak British English. I would imagine that the British pronunciation of L-U-S-T would be the same or pretty much the same as American English. It's supposed to be Technically, it should be the upside down V, which is still part of the full range of the schwa, as I call it. But the difference between that fully open schwa sound, and ah, can be very difficult to hear the difference between. I actually just posted a minimal pair lesson talking about ah, and so you can check that out. But I mean, between British and American, who cares? I don't care. I'm teaching American English here. So in American English, it would be la and la. La, two different sounds. Breno, thank you very much for the answers. No problem. White, something is not worth it learning or not worth learning. Okay, so not worth learning. Perfect. Not worth it to learn. Okay, that would also work, but not worth it learning. No, that doesn't work. It's broken. So you have two options there, but you would need the to learn instead if you have the it. And I'm not going to go and try to explain why. I have an idea why, but it's subtle and kind of complicated. So we'll just leave it at that. White, it's so weird that sometimes I hear people puffing air when they finish their of. It really seems that they're pushing out the F sound, making a blend of VF together. Okay, well, I will say, so in the word of, right, it's spelled with an F, but it is supposed to be a V. So that's one common problem English learners have. It is actually supposed to be a V. OFF is off. That's an F sound. But OF is of. So plus V. But then we can also get that partial end of word devoicing I was talking about, or that I've talked about many times now. And you can start in the V and then drop the voice, and it'll actually end in an F. So like of, that's fine. That happens. What will most commonly happen with the word of, and we don't always do this necessarily, but what will most commonly overall happen with of is we'll drop that V completely and we'll just say That's why we say kinda. It's kinda interesting. But it depends. So that's probably what's going on there. You're probably hearing that partial end of word devoicing or something like that. Okay, now picture 2. I'm on to picture 2. Yay! Let me check the chat here really quick. Thank God I was word 6 that I would have to remember the questions I made because I just deleted my notes. Yeah, no problem. Okay, so number 2. Yep, so picking up where we were. White, do you use the word relationship to refer to any kind of bond between people, being it friendship or any other kind, or is more associated to a couple? It depends on how we're talking. So yeah, technically relationship, like that's what relationship means. It's the relation between people, right? So there's a relationship between me and my brother, and that relationship is that we are brothers, right? That's the type of relationship, is a family relationship. However, I know where the question is coming from, because if you say I'm in a relationship, that means a couple, right? Or if you say I want a relationship. Now, again, context is important. If you say, let's say like you don't know your cousin or your grandparents or something, like you just never really, maybe they live in a different part of the country and you haven't really met them, or you don't know them very well, and you want to know them better, right? So you say I want a better relationship with my grandparents or with my cousin or whatever. Or I want a relationship with my grandparents. That doesn't mean couple. That doesn't mean romantic. That just means like there is no relationship. Like genetically, yes, you're related to them, but you don't actually know the person. So you don't actually have like a real relationship. Like you don't know them, right? So if you use it that way, it doesn't mean romantic. So context is very, very important. But if you say I want a relationship just in general, then we use that to refer to a couple. So yes, there's a special use of the word that if there's no extra details in the context, it will refer to like a romantic couple-based relationship. Yes. Especially if you say I'm in a relationship, that means specifically a romantic relationship. Good question. Yeah. Why are you talking as if you were important? Or why are you talking like? Okay, so another as and like one. Why are you talking like you were or are important? Okay. Here, like and as would be interchangeable. The only thing I would change here, actually, so I noticed in the second one you said like you were / are. You could use were in both cases, but it'd actually be much more common whether you use like or as to say like wire. So we would contract that. Why are you talking as if you're, meaning you are, important? That would probably be the most common way to formulate that. Instead of using were, we would use are and contract it. Same thing with like. Yeah, so but they're interchangeable there. It was like holding your teeth out, in some points. What does that mean? Like it was a pain in the ass. I need more context. I have no idea. That's not a standard phrase that I'm familiar with. Relationship implies it's a couple, so it can sound a bit funny, but you can definitely use that word to talk about a friendship. Yeah. Okay, good addition there, Finn. Thank you very much. John, so you push your tongue right onto the bump, and putting it somewhere a little behind the ridge for NDT is okay too. Yeah, just a little bit. You don't want it to be like here. The part that starts going up, if it's like on that line, that's too far back, and your tongue will not be in a good shape. So if you're a little bit behind the bump, but like maybe halfway between where the bump is and where it starts going up here, that's okay. It's acceptable. But again, it also that's not the only thing. You have to, there's a certain level of just a little bit of flatness there. You don't want the angle to be too sharp like this. It's not ta ta ta. Okay, so there's other little details there. But yes, the placement would be either on or maybe just behind the ridge. So pushing it somewhere between the top front teeth and the bump is not ideal. Not ideal, no. Possible. If I say ta, 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 I'm trying to put it like just in front of the bump, not touching the teeth. It works. It can happen. The thing is if you're putting it there, like right in front of the bump, again, not touching the teeth, do not touch the teeth, but right in front of the bump. If you're doing that and you can get a nice clear t or d, then it doesn't really matter. just do it. Fine. It's just based off of how I feel things happening in my mouth. Sometimes I can feel like, okay, yeah, maybe I go a little bit farther. It's really like on the bump, right? And if you happen to be a little bit in front, a little bit behind, we don't have like a pin perfect placement necessarily. So it's just like pretty much on the bump. The point is, can you make the sound, crisp enough, like it's supposed to be in English? As long as you can do that, I wouldn't worry about exactly where it is on the bump. Just don't touch your teeth. That's the important thing. Okay, did I understand it correctly? Yes. Okay. Also, do you have good tips to make voiced TH perfectly? I pronounce words like though with no problems, but when saying words like clothing, the TH sound doesn't sound clear enough sometimes. Okay. So, well, I do have lesson on the TH. I do have, I'm pretty sure I have extra practice for the TH, including like if it's at the start, middle, or end, for the voiced and the voiceless. I assume you've already seen those. If not, you can look those up. But so remember, there's the dental D replacement of the voiced TH. I assume you're talking about the actual voiced TH. And I mean, I would refer you back to the main lesson for the TH sounds. The one thing I would say, unlike what most teachers tell you, do not put your tongue between your teeth, is not wrong. It's just that's not how we usually do it. That's like a super like clearly enunciated way. Sometimes it'll kind of stick between the teeth anyway, and that's fine. But that gives you problems because it's kind of easier because you can just say, oh, okay, my tongue goes here. I can see, what I have to mimic from a native. But then you have like the pressure from the bottom and the top, and like how closed your mouth is. Like obviously we know we need a little bit of airflow. But when you put your tongue between the teeth, I commonly see students like messing up the airflow. So they'll say like or something, and it's not right. So that's why I say like put it, again, there's a range. I also have a video on the range of how to make the TH sound. It's the dental, the non-dental, the lazy TH. Go watch that if you haven't. But sort of the standard, it could be anywhere behind these top teeth here. Doesn't really matter where it is. The sides of the tip, can sort of touch. That's a good little guidepost. But then you want the middle here, the actual tip to not be touching. So it creates almost like, it's not quite like this is extreme, but there's sort of this little gap between the teeth and the tongue. Okay. And you just have to get sort of the right distance. If you're pushing too hard, because you're not supposed to push it into the teeth, if you push too hard, you'll get like, there's not enough flow. If you're too far back, which that's okay. That's like a lazier TH. It's okay. But if you want to clearly enunciate it, you got to get just the right distance. So aside from going to watch the various lessons on the THs that I already have, that would be my biggest tip. Okay. Yeah, they're tugging Finn from White. There was a few times that I wanted to talk about bound and connection between bonds. We say bonds and connections between people, and I use the word relationship to mean that. I wasn't sure, and people often misunderstood me. Thanks. Yeah. So remember, White, the context is important. Context is important. So if people misunderstood you, there was probably something in the context that you weren't aware of, or that or something that maybe wasn't in the context that you thought didn't need to be stated. And so you had a little bit of a miscommunication. That happens in language learning. Okay, I have one more picture here. Let's see here. Thank you for the perfect answers to Rich question. No problem. Another great tip for the TH sound. Thank you. No problem. Last picture here. We have a few more questions from the previous stream. Almost done. Okay. At least done with this part. So when saying words like clothing, O sound is not clear either. Okay, maybe I find it difficult to pronounce words that have O plus TH. Any tips? There should be tips now. My last question for today. Any good tips to speak words? Okay, so remember, and I talked about this in the consonant cluster lesson that I'm making right now, especially for the consonant clusters. It's super important there, but it applies to the whole language. Okay, it doesn't matter what language you're learning. If you have a problem making a sound, obviously you need to improve that sound. If you have a problem transitioning from one particular sound to another particular sound, you need to work on the transition. Okay, there's going to be usually certain combinations of sounds, especially like with, say, the R or the L or whatever, that are extra difficult. Okay, and maybe you can do, say, a good right? It sounds fine by itself, but then you try to say like K plus like I don't know, crisp or something, and that transition, like your K sounds okay, your R sounds okay, like separately, but then when you put them together, it doesn't sound right. Okay, so you have a problem between the two. You got to practice, just like you practice to find the R and you practice to find the K. You got to practice, okay, how am I releasing the K to go into the Am I getting into the properly? How am I moving between the two sounds? So that applies to any sound combination. Here you have O plus TH. Okay, and we'll focus on the voice TH specifically. Clothing. Okay, so if you have a problem with that O plus the TH, maybe your O is good. O. Maybe your TH is good. The. Okay, then you say or something. I don't know. It doesn't come out right. Okay, what are you doing? Well, make sure that you're doing the O right. Make sure that you're going into the TH right. If the start and the end are okay, then you know it's a transition problem, and you have to figure out, okay, if I go oh, and really slow it down and try to feel what your tongue is doing, so that you can kind of hear, oh, that seems a little weird, right? Especially if you have like a recording from a native and you slow that down and you hear them, like it sounds a little different as they move from O to the TH. You say, oh, okay, so there's something I'm doing different. And I need to figure out how to move between these better. That's all it is. It's very step-by-step, very scientific. You just repeat that process for any problem you have. Okay. Okay, so I'll finish up here first. Any good tips to say words like earth's surface, breadth, and breathes? Yeah, so we have some transition issues again. So with Earth's surface, if you fully enunciate Earth's surface, all right, so we get sort of a longer S there, you push out that TH, Earth's surface. You can say Earth's surface, do a dental T. Or when we have a TH going into an S like this, you can actually drop the TH, Earth's surface. So there's no TH there, easy. Breadth, okay. what we're going to do here, if you clearly enunciate breadth, the breadth of it. It's kind of hard to do fully enunciated, but you kind of want to like more or less hit that D and then kind of go into that TH. And it's a difficult one, even if we try to fully enunciate it. But what we usually do is breadth, the breadth of it, the breadth. So we're actually going straight into a dental D, but we kind of hold it for a second, and then just sort of like breadth. Instead of like pulling off a dental D, like the, we'll actually, as we release it, we'll actually let the air flow around it, sort of like a TH sound instead of it. So we'll do the dental D plus sort of this like weird TH sound, bread. So we're just as we pull off, we're just pushing the air through instead of trying to say the. Okay, it's like. So it's a weird combination between like a dental D and a TH. And that's how we handle that. It's a special case. But all the basic mechanics are still there. It's just because we have the D and the TH there together, it makes it easier. And then breathes. Okay, this is also kind of hard. Just like a voiceless TH to an S, you can drop the TH. A voiced TH to a Z, because that's what it is. It's a Z sound at the end of that. You can drop the voiced TH. Breeze. He breathes heavily. Or to make it a little clearer, a little more enunciated, so it doesn't sound like breeze, breeze like the wind. You can do sort of a lazy voice TH, where it's like you don't quite go into the. You can just get it like here, breeze. So you sort of like lightly hit around that TH point before going up to the Z. Makes it a little clearer. Can we do a dental? Breathes. He breathes. Yeah, or you could do a dental D. Most likely, we're either going to drop the TH or do that lazy TH here, just because it's kind of faster and easier to do. But you could do the dental TH, or if you super clearly enunciate it, do a regular full the breathes. That would be. We don't normally say it that way. Okay, Finn. Talking to David. I don't think those are traits playing. Okay, whatever. Yeah. Technicalities. Music. Welcome, music. I haven't seen you in a while. Hopefully, music migrated over to the new chat. Okay. Do Korea and career sound the same? No, they do not. I saw a video where a British teacher said they sound not the same in British English. Okay. Yeah, so they're going to sound much more similar in British English. Again, I don't speak British English, but I would imagine the first one would be like Korea. I know that sounds kind of American. But the second one would be like Korea, because they don't have the R vowel, right? Just by another super chat to say thank you. Well, thank you very much. I appreciate it. In American English, these are going to sound very different because we actually do have an R vowel that is pronounced as an R. So Korea, right? Kur. So it's not core. You could say Korea, but usually we don't. We just say Korea because it's unstressed. Korea. Okay. Where in the second word, it's going to be, you could say kur also in the first syllable, or ka, and then an R consonant. There's two ways to do it. It doesn't matter. But the end of the word is going to be ear. Okay, not ear. So career. First word, Korea. Career. Completely different ending. In American English. Jonathan, hi. Okay, where are you from in the U.S.? Okay, so yeah, I think I sort of addressed that a bit. What accent do you speak? Where I'm from in the U.S., I'm from California. I don't have it like a California accent, like you think like, hey, bro, what's up? Excellent. Yeah, no, like I don't talk like that. So I always feel I have to clarify that because when I say I'm from California, people are like, oh, so you sound like a surfer. No, I don't. I don't. I generally have a very nice, neutral Western American accent overall. Okay. So back to the main chat. We're here. So Some YouTubers say you put your tongue somewhere between the bump and the top front teeth, and I have personally noticed it is hard to make a good TD and oh, okay, yeah, we put sounds plural. There's two ways to do that. Yeah, good T, N, and D sounds good, very nice. When putting the tongue there, we do TH there, or the word the tongue there. No problem. Yeah. So if it's difficult for you, you definitely don't have to do it that way. As I said, I don't think in my mouth that's not the way I normally do it. It would be on or maybe slightly behind the bump. I think the safest bet for t, d, and n is just to like put it on the bump. Like, you can feel the t, d, n, t, d, n, right? And then you just don't have to worry about it. You just have to go to that same spot. Okay. Youth man, thank you for the great tips. No problem. I'm hopping off now. Thank you for the great tips. Not a problem. Thanks for stopping by. Glad to see you. And thanks for the super chats. Always appreciated. Excellent supporter of the channel. Thank you very much, John. White, can I recommend your channel everywhere? Yes, you can. Feel free. You can write. I don't know why you're asking me. Message retracted. I didn't get to read the rest of that, but that's okay. Yeah, recommend me if you want. If you think I provide value, then share the word, spread the word. Wendell, welcome, Wendell. Habits make laws, or traditions make laws. Which one is correct? Well, there's no grammatical issue here. They're just two different statements. One person might say habits make laws. Another person might say traditions make laws. Oh, I think I see where the question is. It's between habits and traditions. That threw me off because habits and traditions aren't they're not related words. But I think I see how you're looking at it. Yeah. Because a habit is like an established pattern, and a tradition is an established pattern. So if we look at it from the macro view, I can see how you might have a question about that. Habit and tradition are used in completely different ways. A habit is something that habit is tied to routine, right? Which I guess, yeah, in the macros, all these seem very, as I'm trying to explain, I'm like, how is that different from tradition necessarily? So habit is like routine, something that you're used to doing all the time. Might sound kind of like a tradition, but hold on. Has to do with maybe things that you do every day or every week. And it's a pattern that you do. Right, it's your habit. I have it could be a good habit, a bad habit. If you smoke, right, then you go out several times a day and smoke. You have a smoking habit. If you brush your teeth every morning, that's a habit, right? A tradition is something that I don't know if a single person can have a tradition. We definitely don't usually think of it that way, but it's usually going to be like two or more people, usually a group of people, like a whole society. So like a Christmas tradition in the United States, not everybody has this tradition, but many families, including my family, what we do is you have Christmas Eve, the night before Christmas, and we all get together. Usually we eat dinner, like a special dinner. And then we open one present. Okay. And then the rest of the presents are for the next morning, right? It's Christmas Day. Not everybody has that tradition, but many people in the United States do. It's a very common thing. And so that is something that it's like a family tradition, right? So it's like I participate in that. When my mom was younger, right, my mom still participates in it, obviously, but when my mom was younger, before I was born, that's what, they did with, my grandma and my uncle. And then, when my grandma was younger, before my mom and uncle were born, that's probably what she did with her parents and her family. And so, it continues. So it is an established pattern, like a habit. But a tradition we usually think of as something that involves multiple people, that usually spans a very long period of time. not just in the lifetime of one person. A habit is really more anchored on like one person within their life. And like the way that they live in general, not like a particular thing that they do like at Christmas or whatever. So it's not a habit to open one present on Christmas Eve. That's not the right word. It's a tradition, right? Hopefully that makes sense. Do media announcers shift the accent from one to another when speaking on the radio and speaking in his or her region? This is a good question. I've talked a little bit about this before. So you won't always find this. Like I've heard, like I've seen clips of, just random clips of, say, like there's a news thing from some Texas station and they talked with a Texan accent. But traditionally, and this is still fairly common, if you're going to be in the movies, if you're going to be on TV or in the news or on the radio, if you're going to be in the media in general, the traditional thing to do is, if you have a regional accent, you will take special training classes to sound neutral. Okay. Now, as I said, there's more than one neutral sounding accent. A Southern accent, like Texan accent is one example of a Southern accent, does not sound neutral. Okay. The Southern accents are not neutral sounding. Just like the Boston accent, right? Boston, I'm from Boston, get in the car, right? That's not neutral sounding. There's nothing wrong with it. It's just not neutral sounding. So like Stephen Colbert, I don't know if you know Stephen Colbert, the Colbert Report, right? Late night talk show host. I know he's, if I remember right, he's from Texas. He originally has a Texas accent, but you watch him on TV, he sounds very neutral because he actually went through classes to reduce his accent for TV because that's what he wanted to do. That's the traditional thing to do, but people don't always do that. Especially if it's like a small local, radio station or news station. A lot of the time people don't care. But if it's something that gets broadcast nationwide, or if it's a big movie or something, then many people will go and try to lose any regional accent they have. But remember, regional does not mean, anywhere outside of this particular place. Most Americans across the country, Western United States, middle, especially upper middle, and the Northeast, most Americans across the country sound neutral. They don't sound exactly the same. They sound neutral. So that's not regional. Technically, it is macro regional, but it's not like we would say like a regional accent in terms of like outside of the standard. So the South, which is a pretty big area, with the exception of Florida. Florida sounds pretty neutral for the most part as well. Usually I can't tell if somebody's from Florida or not. But most of the South, it's a pretty big region, and there's like a range of Southern accents in there that don't sound standard. So there's a lot of people, I'm not trying to discount those people, they just don't sound neutral. They don't sound, like the standard thing. Where me from the West Coast, even though I'm from the West Coast, I still sound neutral. I just don't sound exactly the same as somebody from, say, New England. We sound almost the same. Okay. I heard children saying, I'll do a table on the board. What's the difference from this one? I'll make a table from this wood. The sentence above, well used. So I would need more context to really answer this. Especially if it's a child, I'll do a table on the board. It sounds like maybe they're going to draw a table on a board or something. I would need more context to know for sure. Now, if you say I'll make a table from this wood, yeah, you're saying you have some wood, you're going to make a table from it. I don't think that is what the child was saying necessarily. If that's what the context was, I'll do a table on the board, then I don't think that's what that would mean. So again, I need to know the context, more of the context for sure. Both of them seem like grammatically correct sentences, but they're not saying the same thing. I was reformulating my phrase. Oh, no problem. Can I recommend your channel everywhere? For those who want to learn English, these lives and your lessons are so good that I feel I need to share it to everybody. Share it with everybody. Share with. Because with the keyword, the idea of with is generally together, right? So you share, right? You're extending it to somebody else. It's sharing it with them, right? Together. Like I have it and I'm giving it to you. We both have it, right? Okay. Not sure though, because it's the internet. I like the apostrophe S, very good contraction. It is, yeah, it's the internet. And I might end up bringing any kind of person here, bad people just messing around or searching for either a problem or problems. Wondering if I should keep it to close people around me. Yeah, so, well, obviously this channel is very public. I sometimes get trolls in here. And as soon as they try to make me say strange things, or, they have obscene comments and stuff, and I kick them, I report them and everything. That's part of my job, is running the live. But yeah, definitely recommend it. If some troll online, say you share it to somebody and then they share it with somebody, and then some troll sees it and is like, oh, I'm gonna leave all kinds of horrible comments on this live stream, like, okay, I'll ban him. Like, I can ban people from commenting on the channel if I have to. I can kick people out of the live stream if I have to. So it's not a problem. It's not a problem. And besides, more good will come than bad. So definitely don't worry about that. Yeah, if you want to share it, I would appreciate that. Yeah, that'd be great. So good. We're at 1:23. We got 7 minutes. 7 minutes. And I caught up, which is great. I think you guys are being mindful of the time, which is fantastic. I have an excellent group of subscribers. Well, are very, very well behaved. I sound like I'm a nanny or something. Today we're going to learn English. Sit in your chairs, and we'll write on the board. We will learn the conjugations of the word to go. Anyway, Vladimir, welcome. It's hard for us Russian spies to pronounce the American spies. I know, the Russian jokes. There's so many Russian jokes. Obviously, we have a long history with Russia and the whole Cold War background. That's so funny. I've had a lot of Russian students. We always joke about that. Like, I don't know. Like, what one of my students the other day, he's like, so there's this girl I like, and I don't know how to approach her or whatever, and like I don't know what to say. And he's like, if I drink some beer or whatever, then I'm loose, and it's not as hard. I was like, well, you're Russian, you have vodka in your blood, right? So just pretend you're drunk. All kinds of stereotypes we have. Like, Russians have bears, right? You guys all have circus bears and stuff, which you don't. But I fight bear with bare hands, literal bare hands, fighting bear. Yeah. Anyway, I have a horrible Russian accent, but. Yeah, the schwa sound is hard for everybody. And no offense to anybody, of course. I'm just playing around. I'm sure nobody here is really going to get offended. But I really want to go to Russia too, and eventually I plan to learn Russian as well. So I'm not just knocking, Russians or anything. Your government's a little crazy, I think, but see, now I can't go to Russia, I guess, because that's recorded. But the people, I think, in general, my experience, I think there's a difference between the government and the people. Just like here in the U.S., like, I don't like my government. My government does not really represent me. But I think most Americans are, decent people. But our government is also crazy. So anyway, enough about politics. The schwa is difficult for everybody. And it's actually really funny because Russian has a schwa. It doesn't sound exactly the same. I discovered this working with one of my Russian students. If you go to Wikipedia and you look up like Russian vowel chart or whatever, it's a really crazy, weird looking vowel chart that has like these like different colors and stuff that I've never seen on any other vowel chart. I don't know what's going on there. There's like red dots and black dots. I think you have like moving vowels or something. I don't know. I'll have to learn about all that later when I actually learn Russian, but there is a schwa on the chart. More or less in the middle. The only thing is that Russian, and I guess I can't speak for all Russian speakers because Russia is a very large country. You have, there's like the Moscow accent or dialect, and then people from like maybe St. Petersburg sound a little different. But in my experience working with Russians, I'm talking about mouth posture and placement, which is limited so far. But my experience with that is that Russian, like Spanish, is pushed farther forward. So the back of the tongue is a little extra tense. It pushes things forward. Your mouth is more closed. Russians don't tend to open their mouths very much, right? So you guys are always speaking like this more, in Russia or Russian. And that's perfectly fine in Russian, not so much in English, especially American English. We're very open-mouthed. But when you do the schwa in Russian is one of the thinking sounds, and instead of sounding like see the in American English, because we have this sort of like central placement where we have like this sort of ball in the middle of the mouth, the jaw is a little more open, so the tongue is lower and the tongue is not pushed forward. So this gives us a bit more open, like rounded sound. Sounds nice, right? But in Russian, which I don't actually speak Russian, but if you take that schwa sound, you try to make it a little more closed and sort of slant it a little bit, if that makes sense, because the tongue is sort of pushed forward. You get something sort of like, instead of you get like something around there. It still sounds quite schwa-like, but it doesn't sound American. It doesn't quite sound English, just English in general, but especially not American. Actually sounds a little bit similar to my ears to like the British schwa, because British English actually, like received pronunciation, is also sort of pushed a little farther forward. So we're talking about American English specifically. The tongue does not push forward, and the jaw is more open. So I'm going to be solving this problem once and for all with my mouth posture lessons, which are coming up soon. I'm going to try to make like one big master lesson for the mouth posture that covers like, all the important details. And then I'll have maybe like some follow-up, like practice lessons or this or that. I'm still kind of trying to explore some things. I've learned a lot so far working with some students on this idea. Definitely don't try to speak from your chest. That's absolute garbage. But the way that it's like 90% in the tongue. So if your mouth is more closed and your tongue is pushed forward, what does that do here? It pulls it up. Okay. So when you hear people like Rachel's English talk about how like, oh, you need to bring this down, you need to open up more, you need to, relax, which it's not completely relaxed, but it's not that that's wrong. It's just that I don't think it's looking at it right. The jaw does need to open more. That's true. The tongue does need to be farther down. You don't want to stick your tongue forward, but as far as I've heard, I haven't watched like every Rachel's English video. I'm not sitting here watching all her content, but from what I've seen and what I've heard from some students and stuff, she seems to focus a lot on, more relaxed, more open, but on this like placement thing. It's like, oh, like shift this down and, speak from the chest. And it's like, yeah, this does shift down, but it's because when your tongue isn't pushed forward, right, which my hands aren't, that's not the best thing. But if your tongue is pushed forward and then you're not pushed forward, it's going to shift this naturally, right? So it's largely how you hold your tongue. And if you're not holding your tongue right and you try to do in English, it's just not gonna work very well. Because if I push my tongue, if I try to do, which I think I cracked the Spanish posture, especially in singing, I can't quite always do it in speaking yet, because I haven't done it too much. I'm just focusing on like music and stuff. This is one thing that music is actually good for pronunciation. And I can roll my R's so much more easily. I still don't have it 100% on command, but it's so much easier with the right posture. But if you try to do when your tongue is pushed forward, you're going to end up doing something like, let's see, it sounds kind of like a schwa, but there's something going on here. So if you don't have the right posture, you're going to have at least a subtle accent, if nothing else. Anyway, more on that coming soon. But Roger, welcome. Portuguese also has schwa sound. Interesting. Probably doesn't sound exactly the same. But and that's the whole thing. That's one of the things that I hate about like the IPA and stuff is like I know for this is true. If you go to the IPA to like Wikipedia and you look up the sound like in cat, and they have like an example where you can like listen to it, it'll sound like or something like that. It's like maybe it's around the same sound, but it's definitely not American English for sure. So there's different qualities of the same sound. Like it might sound, say you have like or ah, maybe between two languages, they both have the same sound, but they don't sound exactly the same. They're like, okay, yeah, I can hear how that's how that's a schwa sound or how that's an sound, but it doesn't sound English or it doesn't sound American, right? Because there's a different quality to it. And that's something that I haven't really seen a lot of people talking about, but it's very, very important if you want to master the accent. If we're talking about European Portuguese, and yes, it does have a schwa. It probably has to do with it being a stress time language. Okay, yeah, that would make sense. That would make a lot of sense. Obviously, Brazilian Portuguese has some range. There's like people in the south, people in the north, and all that stuff. But yes, European Portuguese. Okay, see, bam, he got you. Yeah, that's the interesting thing about Portuguese. European Portuguese is stress timed, like English. Brazilian Portuguese is a mix. It's like it's not stress timed, it's not syllable timed. It's a little different between men and women. Like I was reading about this and I was like, oh my god, this is a mess. It also depends on like how fast you're speaking. So it's Brazilian Portuguese is a really big mess when it comes to the timing. But anyway, the quality of the Portuguese schwa might be a bit different though. Yeah, it almost guaranteed would be. But anyway, we are out of time, guys. So I appreciate everybody for coming and hanging out and asking questions. Very good, very productive. Unfortunately, we had to break it into two because I accidentally hit the back button. But here we are. It's not a problem. So yeah, bring your questions next week. And you guys are lucky because actually I wasn't going to be here next week because I was going to be coming down from the mountains for my vacation, but I'm not having my vacation anymore. So, we'll be here for the live stream. Thank you for all the materials that you got on your channel. So much information I've been going through in the last weeks that makes you able to make adjustments easier. Perfect. That's the whole idea. I haven't even made a whole lot of technique videos either. So just wait until those more technical lessons come out. But yeah, you're welcome, Denny. But anyway, I don't want to ramble. I'll see you guys next week, same time, same day, same everything. And yeah, have a good week.